I'm so excited to have my next guest on the show today, the beautiful and the diversely talented Menik Gooneratne. Yay! Some of you might be familiar with Menik. She's starred in Neighbours. She's also starred in some amazing Hollywood blockbusters like The Lion, the new one, which my brother said, you need to remember this. This is a really popular one, Mortal Engines.
Yeah.
So there's heaps to cover today, but welcome to the show and thank you so much for coming to see me here in South Melbourne.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited too. So we've bonded over tea.
We have.
Okay. I did talk about Singapore breakfast tea, which then I shot myself in the foot because we'd run out. So it is a great tea. You have to come back to try that
I'll
one
have
next.
to come back just for the tea. Yeah.
Just for the tea. But let's jump into it. So tell me how you've started your career at a very, very young age, I believe. I think, was it 4 or 5?
Well, I played, yes. I lived in Papua New Guinea at that time, and I got the role as the wild boar in the kindergarten Easter play. So, very coveted role. So that's where the acting bug fit me. Yeah.
And then you fell in love with acting and performing.
I mean, I've always, it's so strange because to me, I was a really shy kid. And so to me, acting was this way of me breaking out of my shell and being able to be something that I was too scared to be in my real life. So for me, acting wasn't about the attention or the, all of that stuff. It was just a way for me to cathartically be able to express the emotions that I was too afraid to express in real life. So yeah.
Oh, and what a great opportunity.
Yeah.
So then you come to Australia, I believe, yeah?
Yeah, so I was born in England.
Yeah.
We moved to Papua New Guinea and I started school in Papua New Guinea, and then we moved to Australia when I was 8.
That's right, because your dad was doing a lot of work, humanitarian work and obviously environmental work for, was it Sri Lanka? Correct me if I'm wrong here.
No, so he is he's a chemical engineer, but he does a lot of stuff with climate change. This is before climate change was a big thing.
Yes.
So we did a lot of traveling to third world countries because he did a lot of work with the energy boards of these countries to kind of show them how to use energy effectively and how to install light, the lighting structures and the way that your buildings are and things like that, so that they could be more,
more efficient.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And how diverse for you to travel all over the world and see so many disproportionate parts of the world as well. And then, then coming and settling in Australia. So you settled in Australia.
Yeah.
In Melbourne.
In Melbourne.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
What school did you go to?
I went to Holy Family in Mount Waverley, at Avila College in Mount Waverley.
How was that? So tell me your experience that. So you've travelled the world, you settle in Australia and all of a sudden you've got this little routine going and then, I'd imagine you're probably one of very few Sri Lankan kids in the class too at the time. So that would have been a huge change as well.
Well, I was thinking about this and because we travelled to all these different countries and I actually started school in Papua New Guinea, I went to an international school. So I went to a school full of expats. So for me, not being like it was normal for me to see other people around who didn't look like me, and also then feel like there wasn't anybody else like me. So to come into Australia, it was a slow burn with that idea that I wasn't like everybody else, because I'd come with this mentality of like, well, no one looks like me when I go to school.
Yeah.
So it was a bit more of a slow burn, and it wasn't really until I started it was in my pre-teens and teens when I was watching TV and having crushes on Jonathan Brandis and this person and that person and going, oh, the girls that they like on the shows don't look like me. Actually, no one really looks like me, compared to the boys that I like. So I think for me, it was when I was a teenager that whole idea of me being different kind of came into play.
Yeah. And so how did you transition? So did you always want to get into the acting kind of realm and the writing, because you're also a screenwriter as well. Did you always want to get into that realm, or was it something that kind of transpired and kind of grew?
Always wanted to do it.
Oh, really?
And I remember my dad, because of Sri Lankan parents.
Why don't you want to be a doctor?
Yes. So I was in a high school and I'm like, oh, Dad, could I do some acting classes outside of school? And he was like, oh, no, darling, you just wait until you finish high school and then we can talk about it. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Finished high school. So Dad, can I, what do you think? Acting classes? Oh, no, finish university, get your degree and then we can talk about it. But when I got into university, I got into arts commerce. So I did I did accounting, like commerce side,
Just in case.
and I did performing arts.
Okay.
So all of my exams clashed because no one would do, who does that?
No
Who
one.
does that?
But anyway,
But yeah.
another Sri Lankan child that wants to become a singer-songwriter. Yeah.
Keep their parents happy by having that degree.
Hey, listen, it doesn't. It extends to, I think, a lot of migrants, for kind of mentality. I know when I was growing up, and I'm Eastern European, and I remember my parents. I got into the school drama play, and I entertained the idea, oh, maybe I could do this, and then it was quickly squashed because my parents were like, no. I didn't travel halfway across the world to work in a factory with a degree so that you can possibly get a job. No, you need to go to school.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it was just the way, it's that mentality, which is fine. But it's great to see that I think it's quite humbling too, because you kind of really do respect how much your parents have sacrificed to come and to provide you with an opportunity to get educated and what have you. So be able to getting a double degree, commerce, and arts is great. So you venture off into in the realm of arts. So tell me about your first kind of role that you played other than when you were in Papua New Guinea as an adult. So how did that come about?
Well, I really had to fumble my way through it because I didn't have, my dad's an engineer, my mum worked in a bank.
Okay.
And so none of our circle of friends and family were in the entertainment industry. So it really was just me fumbling my way through what to do. So I was doing drama at university. I was doing courses outside of that for, screen test courses, meet casting directors, all that kind of stuff, all the things that I thought I should be doing. And from that, I got an agent. So I did the thing of getting the extras agent and learning what it's like to be on set. And then from there, my first role was actually on Neighbours as well. I played, before I came back and played Priya, I played an Indian backpacker. 100%.
Wow. That's actually groundbreaking. It's actually, and it is. We don't realise it because Neighbours is predominantly, and I don't want to use the word, white, but it is predominantly, and we've always known it for even me growing up as a child. Kind of like I said to you earlier, I stopped watching it when Kylie and Jason Donovan left. Yeah, that's how old I am. But, they're starting to, in the last, I feel like 10 years, there's been a bit more inclusivity in the acting. And I'd never really thought about it up until I started kind of researching and digging a little bit more about you, kind of going, oh, actually, that's so true. Is it because there weren't, actors from other cultures, applying for the position, or is it just the way it is? And it was interesting to see, even reading about you and your new kind of short film that you're co-starring with a rival but now a really good friend, Yasmin, that it is kind of a bit of a thing in the entertainment industry, if you're, an actor of a different background or colour or race and what have you. And you're consciously working towards kind of breaking those barriers. And I feel like jumping onto Neighbours, you did that brilliantly because the Indian and the Sri Lankan community were like, yes.
Yeah, it was really big in England as well.
I think massive. Yeah,
I think it's a common misconception that the reason that you don't see diversity on screen is because there isn't the actors out there.
Yeah, yes.
It's not that, because it starts from the writers and the producers and the gatekeepers, because it's the gatekeepers who ultimately made that decision to go, okay, well, this person could be white, but why can't they be African, or why can't they be Greek? Why can't they be this? Why can't they be that? And that's their decision to make. And for a long time, the argument was that that we didn't sell, that we weren't marketable, that we weren't commercial enough, that we wouldn't get eyes on screen. But I think we've come a long way from there and proved that, no, actually people do want to see diverse faces on screen. And actually the most successful shows, and especially TV shows, are the ones that reflect the demographic accurately.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I would watch something that has a bit more diversity in it. I'm not interested in a vanilla cast, if you call it that. And it's no disrespect to anyone, because we've got some amazing actors, from all legs of life. But I feel like it's more relatable to me. Like when Bend It with Beckham came out, I think I've watched that movie about 1,000,000 times. One of my favourite movies because it's so relatable. The families, the young girls struggling, wanting to do soccer, the cultural aspects, and it's like, oh my God, we're not Indian background, but it's like
it's the same things, right?
It's the same thing. All my mum cares about is who I'm getting married to, what I'm going to wear, what the relatives are going to say, and it is, and it's kind of it's charming and it's beautiful and it's real. It's what, we all kind of, or not all of us, but some of us experience, and it's nice to capture that on screen, and what have you. So you jump on Neighbours, and that's like, how did your family actually? What did they say? Like, I'm intrigued.
Oh, well, so they don't understand it and they still don't quite get it. Like, I remember my dad, but he wants to support it, right? Like, he does want to support it. I remember him once, before I got Neighbours, this was when I was a bit younger, he sat with me one day and he's like, he wanted to draw a little graph.
Oh, I mean,
engineer, right? Graphs.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, darling, so you look at me, right? I went to university and then I got a job that was here, right? And I had more training and then I got another job and I moved up and up and up the chain. So see how my trajectory is going up? Either you have done all this training and this is you, flat line.
Oh, that's the best.
It's how like that. It doesn't really matter. Like, it's all about opportunity and like the right thing. So it's like, I don't get it. So when I did finally get Neighbours, that was a big thing for my parents, where they actually realised, oh, this can pay off, right? This is the first time I was earning good money. I was, front and centre on this show that they could tell their friends about. So for them, it was really validating as well to see, okay, we can trust that our daughter knows what she's doing and she's not going to end up in the gutter with nothing, no hopes, no anything. But so they were really supportive. The funny thing though was the story of me getting Neighbours is I was about to get married. So my husband and I were like, screw Australia. Well, I was, screw Australia. I'm not getting any work here. Let's go live in England for a little while and see how we go, because I was born there. I have the passport. So we got engaged and we thought, let's have our wedding quickly so that we can move to London and not have to come back for a wedding and not have to come back for all that stuff. So we planned a wedding, quit our jobs, bought our tickets, sold our stuff, moved in with my husband's dad. And then the couple of days before we got married, I got the Neighbours role. So the whole thing about us having our wedding in winter was, we're going to be moving to London, so everyone...
Let's hurry up and get this
married. And so the whole theme of the wedding was like, well, they said they were moving and now they're not.
So
now they're staying.
So now we can... Did you still end up having the wedding?
We had the wedding because it was 3 days before, so we couldn't not have the wedding.
Yeah.
So it was paid all that money. So we got married and then moved out of my father-in-law's house because we weren't just moving to London, and then found another place and started again. Yeah.
Wow. What a story. That's amazing. So how long were you in London for?
We didn't end up going.
You didn't end up going at all?
We went for our honeymoon. So you
went for the honeymoon.
We went for the honeymoon, came back. Yeah.
Fantastic. And then when you came back here, there was a bit of a struggle, I guess. I was reading about your in the entertainment industry here in Australia. So you thought, you know what, I'm going to go overseas.
Yes, exactly.
And try.
Yeah, because it wasn't happening. I wasn't getting, it was that frustrating thing of like, you see other people getting the kind of roles that you would like to get. Like for a while there, before I met my husband and when I was younger and, being a working actor or trying to work, my flatmate was a white man and he also was he was an actor. And I'd see him go out for 5 auditions a week. And I get one every couple of months. And it's like, what is this? Like, I could be this person. I could be the girl next door, but you're not seeing that. Why aren't you seeing that?
Yeah.
So I think because of the idea that there was an opportunity for me here, I thought, well, let's try London, which is a bigger city, more diverse, a larger entertainment industries.
Yeah.
Because I had the passport, I'm like, well, let's go there and just see how it works. See how it goes. Yeah.
So you don't end up in London, but you do end up in LA. And you're there for a little while.
Yeah, just a little while.
Yeah, just a little while. And then you're working on these amazing blockbusters. Mm-hmm. And you're working alongside Nicole Kidman and Hugo Weaving and, a plethora of actors that, I only see and go, wow. And so how does that happen, You've gone you've done your Neighbours stunt, you've loved it, you've enjoyed it, it's great. You're building your name, and then you go, okay, let's go LA.
Yeah.
And then you land these amazing roles. How transformative is that, A, number one, as an actor, and two, as an individual? Like, walk me through it.
Well, I mean, LA was always the end goal, right? Because of how big the industry is. And it really is like a natural progression. Everyone does Neighbours and then goes to LA and see how you go.
Well, look at Margot Robbie. She comes back.
Well, exactly. Look at her now.
Yeah.
And the wonderful thing, actually, I was on Neighbours just as she left.
Yeah.
So it was wonderful to also see all the cast and crew were still her friends, and just watching them champion her and be so invested in what she was doing, and, you know, the things that she was getting and the wins that she had. Really, like, for one, it made me realize like how wonderful of a person that she must be to have left such an impact on these people, but also that it can be done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I moved to LA. It was interesting though, because I left Neighbours wanting to move straight to LA.
Yeah.
But I got pregnant. Had old chestnut. So then that was postponed. We had the baby, and then I realised that things hadn't changed in this industry for me here.
Yeah.
So
what do you mean? And I guess where I'm going with that is there's obviously differences between the industry here in Australia as opposed to the industry in the US. Obviously, US is bigger, LA and Hollywood and what have you. But when you say the things hadn't changed, what do you mean they hadn't changed?
I meant that the type of roles that I was being asked to, tape for or test for were the same, hadn't changed, hadn't shifted from pre-Neighbours. So when I got Neighbours, one, I was relieved that, I could see that I could work as an actor, and that was a wonderful training ground. But two, I was like, okay, fine. I've finally proven to the Australian industry that I can do it. I should be, I've been a series regular. I can do an A storyline. I can be, I have the skills to be able to do this further. And so usually what happens is once you get that one role, people go, okay, we can see that we can trust you for the lead in our next thing and the next thing. And that didn't happen. So it was still the similar, not very compelling roles that I was being offered. And I was like, well, what was the point of all that if it wasn't going to happen for me? So then that's where I was like, well, I need to go to LA. I need to see what is out there for me, because at that point, the auditions that I was getting for LA were for series regular roles or recurring guest roles, really big, meaty roles. And the ones in Australia were like these one line, one episode, really nothing type roles. So I was like, well, if America sees me as this, let's go there and see if I can do that there.
Isn't that interesting? I wonder, is it because there is so much more diversity in the US in comparison to Australia in terms of just, both women and men, because they do produce big blockbusters and, the entertainment industry is one of their biggest, industries, and they're constantly looking for new fresh faces that can act. And I do know that our Australian actors are so well trained and so diverse in their roles that they're fantastic. And that's why I think they do so well when they go overseas, and they're very humble too.
Yeah.
I just don't understand, because we too here in Australia, I'm like I said to you earlier, I'm not one of these people that watches a lot of TV. I don't have time. Although I did binge on Netflix series, a Spanish series the other day. It was fantastic. Like, your mum would have loved it. But I do think that we're getting a little bit broader, but not broad enough by the sounds of things. We're still trying to stick to the safety net of casting a particular type, you want to call it that.
Yeah, and I know I don't mean to like poo-poo on the Australian industry, but no, but it is that she never worked again. No, but it is that thing of I feel like in Australia, and you feel it more, is that it's very conservative in its casting. Like, even not just with diverse actors, but even with white actors, like you see the same face on everything. And yes, that person is incredible, but it gets kind of boring to see that flavour on everything that you watch. Like, sometimes you just want something different to see what that person can do. And look, the same can be said for America, but because there is more money and because there are more people doing it, you've got more of a chance. So you've got your big blockbusters, you've got your network shows, but then you also have those middle of the range people who are doing those sorts of things, and your low budget independent stuff as well. So there's so many opportunities to work. You can really find your feet and find what you're good at. So for me, it wasn't until I moved to LA that that I realized I could be out of this. Like in Australia, I was in this box. I was being seen as, the intellectual, the doctor, the teacher. There was this specific thing that I was never comedy. It was always drama. But then going to America is when I realized, I'm funny.
Yeah.
I do really well. Like I can do this and I can do this well.
How liberating for as a creative though too.
Yeah. It's like I found my feet, and I found it was like a reawakening or an awakening for me going to LA to go, no, I'm good at comedy. Sci-fi is my jam, man.
I read that. Sci-fi. Okay, I want to get into sci-fi. I grew up on sci-fi. My dad's Star Trek all the way. Yeah.
Well, I did a Star Trek Picard episode as well. I got to play an alien. I was bald. It was like incredible. And doing that, working on kids shows, action, like all of that stuff I wouldn't have found in me or found my voice more when it came to the writing if I hadn't gone to LA and hadn't had those successes that I had.
How fantastic. How fantastic. And like I said, how liberating from a creative sense as well. And also that innate, like I guess I'd imagine, I don't know because I'm not I'm not an actor, but I'd imagine the confidence level of, going, and then going to LA and experiencing all these different roles and rubbing shoulders with all these different actors, famous or not famous, it's irrelevant, right? Because I feel like you bounce off each other in that creative realm anyway. But how much that would do not only for your confidence as an actor, but as an individual as well. Because you spend so much time going, why? And then all of a sudden it's like, it's not me. I'm actually good at what I do. It's actually I'm not in the right place.
Yeah.
This is where I need to be. So what was the first role you land when you get to LA?
What was it?
I don't know.
I did. I did. I think it was Mortal Engines.
Mortal Engines in 2018.
I gotten really close. It was so funny because we moved to LA. And I was like, isn't it ironic that I moved to LA to get a job working in New Zealand, right?
I'm going to have to watch Mortal Engines. My sons are going to kill me. Like, what do you mean you haven't seen it? Can you just not publicly say that?
No.
I know.
Well, it was the biggest box office bomb of 2019 or something, so it didn't do all that well. But it did, it's disappointing because it was a 3-picture deal. We would have had all these things, but for some reason we were up against Aquaman or whatever, so it kind of just, the timing was off.
Yeah, what's his name? What's the actor of Aquaman? You got no.
Jason Momoa.
Yeah, so
exactly.
You already lost me. You already lost me.
But
I can do more than that.
So I think Mortal Engines was the first thing that I actually booked because I was getting close for a number of things.
Yeah.
And then booked that. And it was so wonderful to go to New Zealand. This was the biggest thing I'd ever worked on, and I think the budget was $100 million.
Far out. I can't even comprehend that.
Yeah. No.
What does that mean in terms of filmmaking? When you say $100 million, what's it? Explosions?
It's special effects. It's big epic sets. It's really good costumes. It's also the luxury of time.
Yeah.
Because it means that you can spend a day or 2 days on one scene or one section of a scene. So, and we had fight training and stunt training and all of that stuff to do as well because it was an action heavy.
So it needs to be choreographed a particular way.
Exactly. There's a lot of
screen. Yeah.
So, but for it being what it was, it's also the most collaborative set I've worked on.
Oh, really?
So it was, Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens, who are the writers and producers on that. They're Oscar winners, right?
Let's just not go there. Just dropping Peter Jackson, it's like, hello.
Yeah. But they're the most approachable people. They were really, I had all these ideas for my character and they were like, yep, we like this, we like that, we're going to do this. The level of, it's just surreal, the level of the resources that they have, because in this movie, it's set in the future. There's all these different like weird languages that we don't, I mean, like it's the same like Lord of the Rings, all those made up languages. So I said at one point, like, I think my character should be praying in this particular, praying. And they're like, that's really good. They'd be praying in a different language. So we'll get Peter's language girl to like work out something so that you're not just speaking gibberish. And so they came back to me with this prayer that was in this foreign language called Shangwanese, which is a combination of Japanese, Greek, and something else. And they had an actual, it wasn't just, let's just write down some syllables and you just say it. It was like, no, this language girl has created this new language for you to do this particular scene. So, yeah.
Had no idea. You can do that.
Peter can.
Peter. Good on you, Peter. We love it. That's incredible. I didn't even know that language existed.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. She's made it up.
She's made it up for the sake
put it together.
For this particular world. She's like, okay,
I'm going to use a bit of Greek,
bit of this, bit of that, bit of this, and this is where it comes from, so that you have an understanding of what it is.
How fantastic to be able to do that and for you to go, wow, this is incredible. So you do this movie and you're working collaboratively with some of the most amazing people in Hollywood and rubbing shoulders against some of the amazing actors in Hollywood as well, and dressed in makeup from head to toe, which I'd imagine would take forever to do.
Well, mine was actually one of the easiest ones because we were humans. So I had a long wig, but apart from that, it was just normal makeup. All me.
I'm going to have to watch it. I apologise for not watching this movie.
It's okay.
I'm really intrigued now. I want to see what you look like and watch all the effects and everything. Because you know what, people talk about blockbusters and how much money is spent, but you don't. Talking to someone like you that's actually been a part of it and having a better understanding of, wow, it's not just what you see on screen. It's all this other stuff that goes behind the scenes that we don't have the privilege of seeing. So it's great to get an insight of that. But you also starred in The Knowing with Nicolas Cage and Rose Byrne. How was that?
Oh, that was fun.
Nicolas Cage and Rose Byrne. Like, she's another Aussie that's just killing it overseas.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
So that was done in Melbourne. So I did that before I went over. I think before Neighbours?
Yeah, 2009. So Neighbours was 2011 to 2013.
Yeah. Oh, I've had an extensive career. I can't remember everything.
I've got it all here. I've got it all here. You've also been nominated for Best Supporting Actress at the Maverick Movie Awards in 2012. How was that?
That was cool. That was really unexpected. So that was just like an independent film that I did with my friend, and then he obviously submitted it to all these festivals, and then it's nice to get recognition for what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were also selected for the BAFTA Newcomers Program in 2016. And I also want to talk to you about your mentor, Gurinder I don't know if I'm going to say this right.
Gurinder Chadha?
Gurinder Chadha. So she mentored you with your screenwriting. How was that? Because she's renowned.
Oh, it was incredible. So that was one of the really great positives that came out of Neighbours.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And in 2016, you were on Lion.
Yes, and Nicole Kidman.
Oh my, that's an incredible movie. That's a beautiful, beautiful movie.
It was a really special thing to be a part of. And I worked with Nicole. I had a lot of scenes with her, and like, oh my God, talking about like an acting masterclass. I think I learned more in the 2 days that I worked with her about acting than I had in my entire career.
Really?
She's just magnificent to watch.
She's magnificent on screen, period.
Yeah.
And I could only, she comes across as such a beautiful human being as well.
Yeah.
And she, by sounds of what you're saying, she is. Definitely.
She's ethereal. She's just like, yeah.
She looks ethereal. She looks magical. It's like she's this. What's the good fairy in the Wizard of Oz? When she comes to the original Wizard of Oz with Gene Hackman, and she's all in white. That's what I imagine Nicole Kidman. Like if I was an actor, I'd be like, oh, the fairy godmother's here.
She's just like so soft spoken and lovely and just very like light. Yeah, totally. She's totally the good witch. Yeah.
So she walks you through. Obviously, gives you some tips. Can you share a tip with me?
Well, it wasn't even just tips. It was just watching her work and watching her take direction. I think because a lot of things, like when you're an actor and you're coming up and you're still establishing yourself. Every time you have a new job, it's like the first day of school again. Like it's really like more than the craft and the actual work. It's the dynamics of the set and who you can talk to and things like that. So and you always like there's this thing in your head about always like not getting it wrong. Don't get it wrong. I don't want to stuff it up and like embarrass myself in these people. I've got to remember my lines. I've got to do this. And so watching her take direction and watching her just kind of go, there was a couple of notes that Garth, that the director had for her in our scenes.
Yeah.
And watching her just process it and going, okay, well, I'll have that in my mind, but I don't know where it's going to go. Let's just see what happens. But let's just see what happens is where the magic happens, right?
Yeah.
Planning and preconceiving what you're doing.
Yeah.
So to watch this wonderful, award-winning, revered actor just go, I'm not making any promises. Let's see. I'll take that direction. Let's just see what happens. Like, I think it was so liberating to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially as a young actor too, for yourself, you know, watching, as you referred to it before, almost like the master in and going and seeing her kind of being a bit almost nonchalant about it is actually a really good, really great for you as well to experience as well. And working with Dev Patel, he's incredible, isn't he?
He is. I'm a huge fan. I didn't get to work with him though because my story was like when he was young, so I got to work with his younger counterpart.
Yeah.
I saw him around and was like, it's Dev.
And did you say hello?
I didn't get a chance to say hello.
Yeah. Because he's an incredible actor. I really admire some of the work that he's done and some roles that he's taken. It's crazy. So then you come back to Australia.
Yes.
No, and now you're working on your own stuff, which I was reading this the other day, and it's an interview on Film Inc. So you guys can go on and have a read. It's actually quite funny, and I actually love that is it Yasmin Kasim?
Yes.
You've wrote this role, which kind of depicts your life and your journey in this whole industry a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a bit funny and it's a bit quirky and I love it. But was it shot in LA?
It was shot in LA. So the story behind To the Death is that the one thing about the Australian industry, what it was like before I moved back, so 7 years ago, it always, because it was, it's such a small industry and because the diversity wasn't really there when I was here, it really felt like all of these, the roles that you would be up for the South Asian character, you were one of 5 people who would have got it.
Okay.
So it really... And Yasmin was one of those people.
I know, because this interview you talk about how you'd see each other, not like
see each other in a welly room and go, well, no, I don't know, like you're going to take my role. So it really, because it was so small, the opportunities were so limited and few and far between, it really fostered this idea of competitiveness and that we can't be friends. And so we carried that attitude, went about our day. But then, funnily enough, in LA, at a random improv class, Yasmin's there. And I'm like, oh, I'm not the brown Australian in this class. What am I going to do? So we got to actually know each other as people and realised that, well, you're actually a wonderful person and you're funny and I'd love to work with you. And so our first collaboration was this, about 2 South Asian actors in LA who have to fight to the death for a role because it's physically impossible to have more than one brown person on a show. So
which is sort of not true, but is a little bit.
It's not true, but it was a cathartic thing to do because I feel like it's all of those traumas and experiences you have. One, as an actor who you were just expected day after day to just walk into these rooms, just lay your soul bare at the feet of these decision makers and pick yourself up and walk out and do it again, right? Like we all feel like that. We all feel like we're at the mercy of these people. Yeah. But then as a brown actor as well, it's just even more heightened.
Yeah.
So we took all of those frustrations and wrote it into what we hope is a funny and poignant and
I can't wait to watch it because I think it's hilarious. Just reading this interview with Ruben Stojanovic, I just was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. But this would be really, really funny because I think it also depicts a lot of people in the industry that are like fighting to be, if the role's about a ballerina and there's only one ballerina, who's going to get it? And all of a sudden there's all these swan-like looking gorgeous girls that go for this ballerina. I think it touches on a lot of things, and also I think for you and what I know about you is how you're actually striving to change that part of the industry and encourage more diversity and more inclusivity, and I think that's super, super important, especially here in Australia, because you're right, we're very safe. I'm going to use the term safe because I feel like with the Vegemite, sandwich kids. You know, we want things safe.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know yet. I need to try it first. If it tastes good, all right, I'll go back, but I'm still unsure. So I feel like what you're doing and shaking up the industry and showcasing something like this that's quite true and very, very relevant is fantastic, because you're also part of the Equity Diversity Committee and Welcome Australia. And that's kind of resonates with a lot of people that have got a very similar story to yours that are in this industry as well.
Yeah.
And being able to see this movie and showcase some of those, you know, those funny topical issues that can affect, you know, your life in general and your confidence and, you know, your self-worth and possibly even your career, where, you know, I'd imagine a lot of young actors would go, well, maybe this is just not for me, and go and become an accountant afterwards, you know.
Well, that's the thing, right? You can't be what you can't see.
No, that's right.
So, and especially now that I've got children, like I really want to help make that experience for the people coming up the ranks to kind of go, no, you can do whatever you want. And really, when it came to writing, like I really fell into it because there was a sense of, I wanted to empower myself, because I didn't want to sit by the phone and wait for someone else to write me the role that I wanted to play. It's like, well, why can't I write it myself? You know, that's where I kind of fell into writing, is through that. And I think there is so much empowerment and so much to be said for writing what you want to see and helping to contribute to the industry in that way.
Yeah, 100%. And your relationship with Jasmine's quite a unique one, because you both connect on that entertainment level, but you also, you know, connect obviously being from different cultural backgrounds as well, and having, you know, some of that cultural stigma around you as well. How did you guys find, I mean, I'd imagine it'd be even funnier, like, because you'd be able to connect on so many different levels when you were writing this, because I read here you were sending each other's ideas and we should do this and we should do that. How long did it take you to write this script, and how was it working with what you once, I don't want to use the word nemesis because she wasn't your nemesis, but your what's the right word I'm looking for? Your fellow rival, friendly rival.
Yes.
How was it working together?
Oh, it was really fun. It was actually really easy to write with her. Like she's such a funny girl. And so I feel like our writing process, it was quick. I think it was really quick because we had a lot to say. We had so many ideas about it, but also we wanted to, because we were both like, we love comedy.
Yeah.
And we both were trained, and we have martial arts training and fight training. It was like, well, wouldn't it be fun to write a funny script that had fighting in it, so we could be our own Marvel superheroes? So that's kind of where it started from.
I love that.
And then it kind of just evolved and became the thing that it was. And our director is Rose McIver, who is a Kiwi actress who's doing really well in the States at the moment.
Yeah.
She's on a show called Ghost, which is like the #1 show on CBS. And so she's a director now as well. And so having her input was wonderful. So it really evolved quite naturally and organically and quite quickly, actually. I think we wrote it in May and then we shot it in June.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's very quick.
Yeah.
You wrote it in May and shot it in June.
Yeah.
That's like a month away.
Yeah.
Usually, isn't it like at least 3 or 4 months?
Oh, it takes for it.
Sometimes a year.
Sometimes I think the stars just aligned with this,
Yeah,
and
it was
also
meant to
that
be.
it was meant to be. And then Rose was heading off to do, I think, season 3 of Ghosts or season 2. So she had to be in Toronto. So we had a limited time frame to get it done. So it's the wonderful thing about being in LA as well, is that you've got the crew and the cast all came together. We had a celebrity trainer do 5 sequences. So everyone just happened to be available at this particular time. So it all just worked.
I feel like when you talk about LA, you also talk about the energy with, you know, just as like, okay, let's do this, and everyone just pulls in and comes together.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens here in Melbourne.
That's the one thing that's been really hard for me to get used to, is how laid back we are here. I think I thrive in that hustle environment. And there's one thing about LA, it's very, very hustle. So it is,
It's competition.
It's competition.
I like competition. I know people, you know, have got very different ideas, but I think healthy competition is healthy.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think we push ourselves to be even better. Mm-hmm. And just when you think, oh, I can't, and you just push yourself. I mean, you wouldn't have gone to LA had you not kind of gone through what you went through here, you know, and I think there's nothing wrong with it. And I love the idea of, you know, come on, let's do this. Let's take a chance, you know, and what's the worst that can happen? It's either going to work or it's not, you know. I feel that, and I'm going to say it, Melbourne, you're missing this. You know, I do, honestly do. In my creative industry, it is sometimes frustrating because you kind of sit there and you're like, what's going on? Why is everyone half asleep? Why aren't you guys getting this? And I don't know whether it's the fact that we're COVID tired. I'm using that as an excuse. Or the fact that, you know what, we're not into it, which is okay, you know. But it's great that you can go overseas and pick that up and bring it back here, and kind of and push forward with what you stand for and try and shake up the industry. What are your future plans?
World domination.
I'd be a sidekick. Yeah. World domination sounds good.
Yeah, you know, sleep's overrated, right? Not my mum. Who sleeps?
Who sleeps? Because you've got two gorgeous boys. We're talking about this before, and I was saying how I don't know what I'd do if I had a daughter. Although my mum seems to think different. But how old are your boys now?
My boys are almost 10 and almost 4.
Almost 10, almost 4. They're a good age. I'm past that age now.
Yeah.
One's an adult, and one thinks he's an adult, but he's not an adult yet. So he's in that beautiful, ripe age of 15 going on to, I'm getting my learner's Maria.
Wow.
Which car am I going to practice in? I was like, no one's. Yeah. So that's an interesting dynamic too, because right through this entire career, you've managed to have 2 beautiful children.
Yeah.
And a husband that is obviously super supportive. You know,
I think it's cursing the day you married me. Oh, I married an actor. Why did I do that for?
Oh no, it's fun. You get to role play. But just as a busy mum, and I completely understand, you know, being a mother myself. Like, how do you make it all work? Honestly, and all the travel, and now you've come back to Melbourne for good, or is it just a little while?
We're seeing how we go. I think we are going to base ourselves in Melbourne because all of our family is here. So when it does come to the times that I have to travel, like, it's been a lot easier to have that family support because we didn't have that in LA. And so it was an extra level of complication whenever I was working or I had meetings, and my husband's an engineer, right? So he doesn't like it when things change.
Does your dad love that he's an engineer?
Apparently that's the best decision I've ever made. My parents are like, you know, you've done one thing right. You've married an engineer. Thanks, Dad. Thanks.
That's good.
But yeah, so my husband doesn't like chaos, but my life is chaos.
Oh, I love that. So that's a balance. That's the yin and the yang. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
So we're back in Melbourne, and then the plan is that I can travel. I've got the freedom to travel as I need to for work and for things like that. And then we have the grandparents who can look after the kids and stuff.
Hey, I'm all about the parents. I'm all about having a community. It takes a community to raise children, people. It's not just the mother and father. I put my hand up and go, no, I'm not Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be Wonder Woman without my parents and my husband's parents and the neighbours and everyone else who wants to lend a... I don't need them now. They're all good.
They're off driving now.
Yeah, they're all driving. They're fine. Now my oldest has become the chauffeur to the youngest.
It's not perfect.
Yeah, it's the best. Do anything. It's the best. But I completely understand how important it is to have that support around you, you know, to raise kids and to give them a bit of foundation and security. And you feel at ease too, knowing, okay, mum's got the kids, or, you know, such and such has got the kids. It's fine.
It's not some random babysitter, or, you know, you're having to really worry about that stuff. I think as well, like, we always struggle, I think, being in this industry and being a woman. You know, I've had a lot of friends ask me, or kind of have that question of when to have children and how it can affect your career. And the fact that, you know, for a while there, when we did move to LA, I was wondering, like, oh, is this too late for me now? Like, I've got a kid and that and this, that, the other. But honestly, having children complicated and simplified my life all in one.
Why is that? Because you get to choose. You don't.
All of the noise that's there kind of falls away, and it really helps you to hone in on what it is that you want to do with your life and what it is you want to achieve, because you don't have time. You don't have time to sit and ponder and think about an audition that went wrong because I've got to feed my kid, right? So it really grounds you in that. And so I found that I think I'm more driven now that I have children, but also it's that idea of I'm raising 2 boys. I want to give them that example of, well, mum busted her ass, man. She had these dreams and she busted her ass to get there. So hopefully that will translate to them when they're older and they come up against adversities in whatever chosen path that they have. That was like, well, mum never gave up. She picked herself up and went and did it again and again and again until she got what she wanted. So
exactly. And also, I think it also teaches them the equality, of being a mother, a working mother, and still having that nurturing side and putting aside time for the family, but also like being as dominant and driven as dad, for example. I think that's and you can only lead by example as well. You know, which is great. And you know what, having boys that are grown now, they do store it, and they bring it up, and they bring it up in moments where you least expect them. You go, oh, yeah, I've been watching all these years. I thought you were just playing PlayStation, but you've actually been observing and taking it. It is. I think it's great. So what's on the cards for you? So we're doing when does this come out here in Australia?
Well, we're still doing the festival run with To the Death. It's made it into the LA Shorts International Film Festival in a couple of weeks, and that's an Academy Award and BAFTA qualifying festival.
Oh my God.
So we're a little bit chuffed about that.
A little bit chuffed. That's massive.
Yeah, so I'm heading over to LA for that in a couple of weeks' time.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Yeah, oh my God, that is such a huge accomplishment for something that was like, oh, let's just do this. And then, baby, it's such all the stars aligned.
Yes.
So there you go. Oh, well, congratulations on that one.
You.
I hope it does really, really well. I'm sure it will. It sounds hilarious. It does. And because when I was trying to find a clip on it on Google, so I kept Googling to the death, and I kept getting all these other random things, and I'm like, I can't wait for it to come out. I will watch it when it comes out because it sounds like it's going to be a hoot. And like I said earlier, it touches on a few kind of issues there that I think they're still a bit subliminal, but they need to come up to the surface. And we need to talk about them, and we need to be a little bit more diverse and a bit more inclusive in who we're choosing, and like you said earlier, and what have you. So you're going up to LA for that?
Going up to LA for that. And then so I've really enjoyed working with Yasmin. So we've got a bunch of projects now on our slate that we're developing.
Wow.
Next up is a Christmas movie in Australia. So we're just working on that and hopefully taking meetings at the moment, and hopefully we'll have some good news very soon.
Oh my gosh, the Christmas in Australia.
Yeah, because also we've sorry, excuse me.
No, go for it.
Yeah, Christmas in Australia, because Yasmin and I, because we've had the experience of being in LA and how obsessed with Christmas movies everyone in America is.
They're more obsessed with here. Is it because it snows?
Yeah, because
it's still snowing in LA.
But it's all the Christmas movies are about it being a snowy whatever. And I'm like, but half the world has Christmas and it's hot. And we're at the beach, there's budgie smugglers,
that's right,
all that kind of stuff. I'm like, wouldn't it be great to kind of showcase what Australia has to offer when it comes to Christmas movies, but also have that South Asian spin on it as well?
Yeah.
To me, it's not Christmas without my uncle's prawn curry, right? Doesn't feel like Christmas without that.
Oh, there you go.
So
what was your typical Christmas growing up in Australia?
It was, a lot of my dad's family are in Melbourne, so we would go to church, midnight mass, and then we come back, open our presents, and then we'd usually go to an uncle or auntie's house for Christmas lunch, which was at about 3:00 in the afternoon, and kind of just went.
Went on forever.
Went on forever, and it was more curries. So it was all, it was yellow rice, it was my uncle's prawn curry, it was all kinds of curries. So it wasn't until I met my husband that I had this like traditional Australian kind of.
Yes, your husband Australian.
He's Australian.
Okay, so that's complete turkey ham.
Yeah, turkey ham. Like this whole turkey thing, I hadn't had turkey until I met him. I'm like,
how was that?
It was weird.
It was weird. He probably said the same thing about you. He turned up to your place with where's a turkey?
It was a bit hot and spicy.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's what that I mean, my husband and I are both the same nationality, and Christmas, we celebrate two Christmas. So we celebrate the Orthodox Christmas, which is a week after the Christmas, because we just can. And we just eat on both.
Oh,
so, you know, like Aussie Christmas, we call it Aussie Christmas because we've got a lot of so the family's all mixed up. So we've got, you know, family that celebrates Aussie Christmas, which is the ham, turkey, and then of course then we go to an uncle's or a cousin's house and then have the traditional Eastern European food, which is just more meat.
Yes.
Right, and you know, more vodka, and we just drink and eat until we can't drive. Then we comatise for about an hour, and then we get up and leave.
Yeah.
So it is very different, and depending on the weather, if it's really, really, really hot, then we go to the house that has the best air conditioning system. Otherwise, no go. No one's cooking. No.
Yeah, love it.
But it is, Aussie Christmas is very different to overseas Christmas because LA, you're right. I mean, I'd like to go and celebrate Christmas in the US just to see what it's like, have snow and all that sort of stuff. But yeah.
It is really beautiful because I've done Christmas in London and I've done New York, I've done LA, and there is something because you're brought up on all of those things, like having the snow and having the twinkly lights and the Christmas tree in the front yard and things like, you know, in the window so you can see it from the street. It is really romantic when you do see it.
Really?
It's so cool because it isn't like you're just not, it's such a foreign concept to kind of go, oh, I'm in a movie, you're walking.
I'd say it's as big as what they put out in the movies. Like when you watch a Christmas movie that's made overseas, it's like, you know, the house is all lit up, the trees are all lit up, there's Christmas decorations for days. It's like that in real life.
Americans love a holiday. Every holiday, they actually have, this is one thing we really struggled to get our head around. They have decorations or even like furnishings for the house depending on the season. Like you have your autumnal stuff that comes out when it's autumn. So you have your orange cushions or your fall leaves and all your little like things that you put up in your house that signifies that time of the year. So then you pack that all away for Christmas, and then you have spring, and then you have Easter, and you have Thanksgiving. They love a holiday.
Oh my God. Yeah. We're behind the eight ball. Yeah. We're the same.
Yeah.
Same furniture right through the year. I might bring a pot plant, maybe a fruit platter in summer.
Yeah.
That's it.
Got to say, I love Halloween in LA.
Oh, really?
They get into it. So like the decorations on the streets and in everyone's front yards is insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I've been overseas a couple of times, but I've not experienced, actually, no, I lie. I experienced 4th of July in New York, and that was massive. That was like big.
Yeah.
And so it should be. But other than that, I have not experienced any other holiday. I'm intrigued now. I really want to go and experience. Halloween would be a great one because they would have, because you see the stuff on social media now, all these celebrities, and they have these Halloween parties, and they're like so extra. We can't even be bothered putting a mask on our face. No. Oh, okay. You know, that's another movie right there.
Yeah.
An Aussie in the US, and just kind of going through the holiday season, you know, and just depicting all those different things. That's fantastic. It's been such a pleasure talking to you today.
Oh, thank you.
You've given me such great insight on your world and the world of entertainment, both here and overseas. I'm excited to see what you're going to do next. I'm excited to see how the industry is changing. Although it's a little bit slow here in the land of Oz, we're getting there. You know, we're slowly getting there. And I think people like yourself and Jasmine, or Yasmin, I want to say Jasmine, but it's Yasmin, isn't it?
Yes.
With a Y. Actual great role models for the younger generation of actors coming through, for the younger entertainers, and you know what, and for women of different cultural backgrounds to, you know, like keep at it, keep pushing, and strive. And I think you've done a magnificent job.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm super excited to see all your next projects come to life. And I'd love to have you back and chat with you some more.
Oh, I'd love to come.
And you know, take us on a journey, on an acting entertainment journey. And all the best for fighting to the death.
Thank you.
Right? I hope you win that award.
Thank you.
I'm sure you will. But yeah, keep me posted.
Will do. And thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
It's been great.